Hello and welcome back to Let's Design Shards, a Minecraft MOBA adventure map. With the Grand Mountain Range and Central Waterway now formed from our last session, we can focus on the western section of the Shard, beginning construction on what will become the heavily forested valley floor. Before doing this, however, I decided the cloud layer was much too low for my liking. After segmenting the shard, I shifted the structure in parts until this entire shard was lowered. The resulting cloud layer was much better, with the clouds rolling over the central mountain lake, much like a fog. With this out of the way, I looked to the valley. As done with the ravine, I decided it would be easier and perhaps smoother to find pre-generated terrain for use as a valley floor. I loaded up yet another world and soared through until I found this desert. Devoid of trees, shrubs, and with only a few cacti to get in my way, this desert was exactly what I was looking for. Once I chose an appropriate location, I began my work. Based off the dimensions of the Shard's valley floor, I marked off the sides and corners of a large desert segment. I then quickly checked my selected region and removed the dead shrubs and cactus with World Edit before changing the sand into dirt and grass. With this complete, I saved the area as a schematic. Moving back to our shard, I loaded and then pasted the saved segment into the sky. After tidying up my selection and choosing a more appropriate cut point, I took and then pasted the segment onto the southern valley floor. I worked on the transition zone between valley and mountains, filling the area and smoothing the landscape before moving on to the northern end of the map. I once again pulled in and pasted the schematic into the sky. This time, however, I rotated my selection and cut points, giving me a mirror image of the southern side. I took this new segment and pasted it, this time to the northern half of the shard. As before, I cleaned up the mountain-valley transition point with dirt spheres. I followed this up with several iterations of the smooth command to give a much nicer look. And here we have it, the bare valley floor. I have again used my shard generate command to clear away the excess overhang. The remaining landscape looks amazing. The far northern and southern ends will be left mostly bare as a placeholder for the team bases, but the central majority will be filled with grass, flowers, trees, and various other shrubs. The landscape is sparse and bare now, looking more like rolling empty plains. But by the time we're finished with this western valley, it will have become the full, true forest it was always meant to be. I wanted the forest floor to be heavy with underbrush, so I took bone meal and applied it liberally to the grassy floor. There needed to be enough space for players and other forces to pass easily underneath the tree canopy. And since many of the standard growths of Minecraft trees are too low for this purpose, I had to use a different approach. Instead of placing saplings directly onto the valley floor, I placed them higher up on a dirt block, which I would later replace with wood matching the tree. This way, each tree would appear one block higher than standard, giving enough room to pass underneath even the smallest of trees. After placing several trees to make sure this worked as I had in mind, I finished bone mealing the southern floor and moved on to placing the remaining trees. For the most part, I was letting them grow naturally by themselves. However, after some time I needed a good visual of the area, and I quickly grew the remaining saplings with bone meal. This was most certainly the look I was going for, but to get the sheer depth and density that I desired would take a great deal of time. I enlisted the help of one of my friends, and together we spent several hours filling in the forest on both sides of the ravine. Unfortunately, I was unable to display this footage due to a recording error, but we completed the work nonetheless. Traveling through the forest at ground level, we can note some of the interesting ways combat may be affected. The dense clusters of trees and foliage reduce visibility, making it easier to sneak up on unsuspecting enemies and providing ample ambush points. The thick cover may also increase the difficulties faced by archers, and the dense overhead canopy nearly eliminates the threat of long-range arrows. Coming out of the forest, we can rise up and see the bigger picture. The thick forest canopy hides the valley floor from sight, and looking to the mountains we can see trees and foliage creeping up the side, further smoothing the transition between mountain and valley and adding depth to the area. In the future, we'll be constructing pathways from each base to the central fortress, winding through the opposing forests, but these and many other features will have to wait for another time. If you've enjoyed this and you want to see more, leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.